Hey there, welcome back to Fletcher House Garden. I'm April. It's nice to see you here again. I'd like to do something different for this week's episode. I hope you will oblige me for a little Q&A session. We've received several comments and questions about me, the channel, some of the styling choices we use either inside or outside the home, and even about Brad. So I thought it would be fun to answer some of those questions, and then in turn, I have a few questions for you. So why don't you sit back, grab your favorite beverage, and let's get into it. So for those of you who are not aware, my husband actually hurt his back about 3 weeks ago. And that means that some of the projects and things that I was hoping to do in April and May to share with you got placed on the back burner, and rightfully so. While it is unfortunate, one of my joys is to take care of him when he is not feeling well. The unfortunate part is him not feeling well, right? But I don't mind taking care of him when he needs to be the patient. So that actually makes the timing of a Q&A video very well placed, since I don't have any other content to share with you at this time. I do hope to very soon. But for now, let's start by answering some of the questions that you have for me. And many of them have been about, well, me and the voice behind many of the episodes that you watch here at Fletcher House Garden. So, questions about me. I'm a pretty simple person, or at least I like to think I am. My name is April Nicole Davis Fletcher. I'm from Mississippi. That's where I was born. That's where my parents live, and many of my extended family members live. But I actually grew up, went to school, and went to college in Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas to be in fact, and started my career there as well. So I went to college at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville, and actually went to school to become a high school English teacher. That never came to fruition. I took a different path. Beyond living in Mississippi and Arkansas, I've also lived in Tennessee, and in fact that is where I reside now. But what brought me first to Tennessee was a job in Nashville. So from Northwest Arkansas, I moved to Nashville, lived there for a little bit, and then ultimately migrated a little south, still in Tennessee, but where I live today in the southwest corner of the state with my husband and our dog. Still relatively close to my parents, his parents who live in Arkansas. I should have mentioned that. Brad is from Arkansas. Grew up in Arkansas, went to school in Arkansas, some very substantial roots there in Arkansas. We do love Tennessee, love our home, love our neighborhood, and that's one of the things that motivates me to share our little corner of the world with you. I don't think necessarily that we are special people, nothing like that, but there is some magic that happens here from time to time, and I would like to share that with you when I can. Now, when mentioning Brad, it must be said that some of you have asked about my relationship with Brad, as in, how did we meet? How long did we date? How long have we been married? Little details like that. And that topic actually transitions me well into the questions we have received about our channel. What is our channel about? And it was my hope, ideally, that our name, Fletcher House Garden, would tell you a little bit about what our channel represents. Again, that was the hope. So the channel, in my mind, should be about the Fletchers. It should be about the house, and it should be about the garden. It should also be mentioned, by the way, that some of you have asked how old I am. And being from the South, or at least living in the South my entire life, One of the traditions I do actually still uphold is that you don't ask someone about their age. I know I have gray hair, but don't let it fool you. So who are the Fletchers? Well, that's pretty simple. It is me, Brad, and this little fella, Oliver. And like I said before, we live in Southwest Tennessee. And we do have a nice home that we love. It's our first home, in our minds, our forever home. It is a brick house in a very nice neighborhood, but it is a sizable house for 2 adults and 1 dog. It is 3,500 square feet with 4 to 5 bedrooms, depending on how you use the spaces, and 2.5 bathrooms. So a lot of space here for us, our family, and our friends. And when we moved in around the beginning of 2021, we did not get into a rush to decorate our living spaces. We did some painting. We did some things to prepare for our wedding because we did get married here during the COVID-19 pandemic. So our venue was our house, which I think is a pretty special detail. But there are a lot of spaces, a lot of projects, a lot of things I have yet to complete because, as I mentioned, we are taking our time. There's no sense in buying things quickly just to fill the spaces and call them done, when it may not actually be the things we wish to surround ourselves with in our home. So, drawing it back to the Fletchers, like I said, me, Brad, Oliver, there are details about our lives together that I don't really share on the channel because I don't know how much of the personal aspects you would like to see. Most of my content so far has been based either on the house or on the garden. So that's one of my first questions for you, and it's going to be a repeating question about content. What would you like to see moving forward for the future? Our channel has been around for 6 months now, and I'm very proud of that. We have almost, I think, 218, almost 250 subscribers. I think we're around that 218 mark last time I checked. I know some of you are here and there when it comes to watching our episodes. Some of you watch us weekly. Regardless of how frequently you watch our channel, I would be curious to know what kind of content interests you the most. So first option is obviously the Fletchers. You know, if we break out Fletcher House Garden, that's the kind of content we'll have here, or at least that's my plan for now. Would you like to know more about the Fletchers? So when it comes to the Fletcher house, a lot of the questions that I have received so far pertain to design choices. You know, do I have a particular style? Are there certain things that I'm looking for as I'm decorating the rooms? Do I have any style inspirations like other designers or things? And honestly, that's a topic I could spend a lot of time on, probably hours, and I don't know what your availability looks like right now. So for now, I will say there are certain things that I do consider, certain platforms and things that I look at. I'm still old school. There's still some times that I will flip through magazines, like printed magazines, but in turn, there's also evenings that I spend scrolling Pinterest. So it really just depends. But overall, what I try to dial into are a couple of things. First of all, I call it Southern nostalgia. You know, since I did grow up in the Southern United States, there are things I definitely remember seeing in our home growing up, my grandparents' homes, friends and families' homes, that to me are just quintessential Southern, and they bring joy and happiness to me when I remember those things. So I do try to dial into some of that. An excellent example would be some of the blue willow and the chinoiserie pieces that I use in our house that belonged to my Nana, my dad's mom. So definitely use some of that Southern nostalgia when I can. Other things, I love to garden, and if you get the garden bug, if you're bitten by that, you want to bring gardening indoors to some degree. And so I do like to nod to the hobby that's on the exterior of our home, whether that's through like just little topiaries or little garden kind of themed things, without making it too campy. And the last thing that I must say, at least for now, that I consider is the overall environment of the home. I want it to be comfortable. I want it to be, nice, pleasant to the eye. But more importantly than that, I want it to be about us, our family, our friends, the life that we're building here. And when I think about what's going on outside that door, our world, how stressful it can be sometimes, and my anxiety can go through the roof when I deal with all the things going on out there. So at least in here, within these walls, I would like it to be calm, peaceful, serene. If you're here, I want you to know that you're welcome and you're protected, and that definitely plays into the colors that I use and just some of the textiles and things as well. So when it comes to the Fletcher house, I must revisit that repeating question that I told you was going to happen, and that's about content. Would more content about the Fletcher house in particular interest you? Whether that's flea market finds, room tours, different projects and things before and afters that I'm doing here. Like I mentioned before, I'm not in a hurry. The things that I will do here will make sense to us. And as I've hinted pretty strongly in a previous video that I will link, I'm not into the trends. There's definitely a lot of things in this house that someone would tell you is wrong or outdated. So if that's not your kind of thing, then I understand if you want to look elsewhere. But on the contrary, if these kinds of episodes would interest you, please let me know. Either drop a comment or send me a message, and I'd be happy to hear from you. And this brings me to the final part of our explanation of the channel, and that is the garden. Fletcher's House Garden. There's a lot of things going on out in the garden. When we moved into the house in 2021, there was some landscaping in the front of the house, some beds close to the house facade, but not much else, and nothing landscaped in the backyard. And to this day, as of May 2024, the backyard is still very much a blank slate. I am a one-woman operation here. I do have help from my friends and my family out in the garden. And I would be remiss if I did not mention right here that my parents actually visited us last weekend and helped me take care of some things inside the house, but also out in the garden that have been put aside with Brad's back injury. So major thanks to them for coming to take some of that off my plate and give me a little bit of time to rest. One of the things they did was help me plant some new additions out in the garden that I hope to share with you very soon. And two, Dad helped me make some plant supports. I told him I wanted to get some tomato cages and cut them into different sizes for plant supports. And he took an angle grinder, zip, zip. And so now I have some DIY plant supports that are working out very well. Now, I would love to ask you about gardening content. Is there more that you would like to see? But I know at least right now in the United States, it is gardening go time. The weather is perfect for it. So many channels and content creators are currently publishing episodes to YouTube with gardens that are far more established, far more mature than mine. Like I mentioned, I pretty much have a blank slate here. Definitely in the backyard, but pretty much in the front yard too. And it's a slow process. It's gonna look great. I already love what we're doing so far. But when comparing it to other gardens that have been around for 20, 30 years, it's a complete apples to oranges scenario. So if you're more inspired by some of those gardens that have a little bit more age than mine, I understand. But if you like to see new gardens come together and start to develop, maybe you will consider watching some of the episodes here at Fletcher House Garden. So now that you know a little bit more about me and a little bit more about what our channel represents, I have a couple of questions for you. One of them I've already been asking, and that's about moving forward. What kind of content would you like to see here at Fletcher House Garden? Now, fair warning, I will always be true to what is truly happening in our lives. I'm not one to fabricate material or content just for the sake of views or going viral. I truly want our episodes to be more organic and honestly more of a time capsule for what's been happening in our lives. That's one thing Brad tells me over and over again, is he thinks it's going to be very cool to watch some of these first videos 3 to 5 years from now to see how things have changed and how we've grown. The last question that I have for you deals with our publishing schedule. When I first started making episodes for the channel, I was posting continuously every Saturday morning. So weekly episodes, but every Saturday morning. In time though, I moved to Sundays. And we've been doing these Sunday episodes for a little bit now. I'm curious your thoughts. Do you prefer to watch your YouTube episodes on Sundays, on Saturdays, or a completely different day? Now, I know some of you will say, hey, April, I get notifications. I hear when you have a video and I watch when I can watch. And that's good to know as well. But I know me personally, because I am a YouTube viewer, I usually wake up on Saturday mornings, but also sometimes on Sunday mornings, and watch the channels I've subscribed to and kind of have a little mini marathon. So do you have a preference? I know this week's episode looked a little different than normal, and you definitely got some FaceTime with me. That's something you always get to see because usually I'm behind the camera. Like I said, one woman operation here. But I hope you enjoyed some of the topics that we covered, answered some questions, and like I said, I do hope to hear from you. So if you would, please drop me a comment. You can do so if you're watching on your mobile or even like an iPod or a computer. You can usually do that underneath the description of the video, or you can also send me a message. We are on Instagram, so you can message me there. And I also have an email address that is on our website. So a couple of different ways to contact us, but regardless, I'd love to hear from you. Now, if you don't mind, I do think it's time to go check on Brad and see if he needs a new ice pack for his back. But until next time, dear friends, thank you so much for watching and take care.